Afternoon. I wanted to say morning, but it is already afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the March 22nd session of the OBX Wave Report. I'm going to talk about some surf conditions down at the beach today as I experienced it. I am going to talk about some kind of crazy weather going on across the United States. We got the fingerprints of climate change all over the weather these days, and the weather's a little wild and willy, that's for sure. And then I'm going to talk wave forecast. And then after that, I did get some questions from a new surfer about hand position on bodyboard and surfboard. So I am going to correct some errors I think that I made down at the beach and give you guys a supplemental video following this one about hand position both on the bodyboard and the surfboard. All right, so I gotta admit that I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the ocean is just a wonderful thing to reset your mind, your body, your soul. If you get into the water, you get the full experience, but even just getting down to the beach is, I think, a very healthy thing for your disposition, your life, your happiness, getting in touch with nature and the rhythms of nature through the ocean. Um, it's just healthy and fulfilling, and it's just really a good way to live. But today I did get down to the beach. This is a shot from Jeanette's Pier looking south and east. There's a southeast swell coming in, and you can see the white water breaking on the sandbar offshore and then a bit of a heavier shore break. The video is deceptive. The waves are actually relatively big in the range of 1 to 3, maybe even 2 to 3 feet, according to the wave monitor at Jeanette's Pier. All morning, the waves have been in the range of 2 to 3 feet. And did get out into the shore break, got a little surf myself, helped a new surfer out who was getting out a little bit further into the water, catching some rides. Um, Good times were had by all and some good waves. It's fun getting into sloppy shore break. It's challenging. These are not perfectly formed waves, and you have to get your timing just right. And even so, it can be pretty difficult to manage a good pop up. So some of these waves I was riding like kind of like a knee board. But nonetheless, always good practice to get out in the waves. And shore break can be particularly challenging, so it's actually good to get into shore break. A lot of surfers will only wait for like perfect waves. And in all honesty, if you want to improve your skills as a surfer, um, it's good to surf the not perfect waves. It'll help your timing a lot more. It'll challenge you to get your positioning just right. And it'll throw all sorts of unexpected stuff at you, which will teach your body new things, new reflexes, new ways of dealing with situations. Don't get me wrong, it's good to succeed as well, but I think with surfing, it's good to have that mix of success and failure. Um, Failure, you learn from failure a lot more than you learn from success sometimes. So, getting out into non-ideal conditions is good. And that's what we did today, which was good times. And I thought this shot was just a good scene from the beach. We had some fog rolling in, some intermittent showers. The ocean, oh my God, was just so gorgeous. It's just like blue, green, and just so full of life. If you do get out there, you'll enjoy it as well, and I encourage you to do so. The main story for the OBX wave report for today and for this week is that the waves are probably going to be better than expected, better than predicted, um, just better overall. All right, so now I'm going to get into the main body of the wave report, and we're going to talk about the weather for the lower 48. We're going to talk about a big heat wave that is building for the US Southeast, and this thing is looking pretty nuts as far as temperature anomalies and just warmth building in for the Southeast. And we're going to talk about the continued influx of storms from an atmospheric river in California. We're only going to talk a little briefly about it, but it is a weather highlight. And then I'm going to help provide the wave forecast for the Outer Banks. Now, this post was by a climatologist, Daniel Swain, um, of a low pressure system off the atmospheric river that's been slamming into California. This was yesterday. They produced cyclonic features, gale force winds, severe rains, and there was even thunder and lightning in association with this, and severe snows in the mountains. And it did. It looked a lot like a hurricane coming in on both the satellite picture and the radar picture. It was something else, and it's just a reminder of the power of the atmospheric rivers that have delivered storms to California, one right after the other, right after the other. And I just want to remind everybody that this series of storms, this cyclonic storms or just continuous rain swells coming in off the ocean, heavy surf, very heavy snows, all of it has been fueled by a warmer than normal Pacific Ocean and a warmer than normal atmosphere. And we've seen records just shattered across California when it comes to precipitation totals in this hard swing from drought to flood and heavy snowfall. I'm sure the California water managers are feeling a lot better now, so there's a silver lining to this. But overall, the hard swings are a feature of climate change, and the tendency for the U.S. Southwest is to move to drought. So let's not get overconfident when we come to water right now. And let's also recognize the fact that this hard swing is yet another feature of a climate system that has been pushed out of balance by fossil fuel burning. So let's not get complacent. Let's see the indicators for what they are. We do track global temperature, and one of the best places to do that is through NASA. NASA's GISS, which is a global monitor on temperature. And I just did want to show you where we are with regards to 2023. It looks like 2023 is tracking in at about fourth to fifth warmest so far. I'm not sure where we're going to end up. If you're interested in the predictions for this year, as far as total temperature and where we will hit in the warming scale, I recommend checking out Gavin Schmidt. But I did want to show this graphic to show you guys where we are at present, since we are talking a bit about climate. Okay, so let's get down more to weather and then to waves. And right now, we've got this thing out here off the East Coast. It is this big high pressure system, kind of a burly ridge sitting here. And this ridge is expected to stick around. I mean, it's not really going to go anywhere. I mean, it might waffle back and forth and just kind of wiggle around a bit, but it's generally expected to stay around in the same position for at least the next 4 to 5 days. And what that means with that big high, you've got that circulation around the high, that clockwise flow. And on the south and west side, you got those southerly winds digging into that warm Gulf Stream, digging into that much warmer than normal Gulf of Mexico, pushing those warm air masses over those warm ocean waters north. And so here in the Outer Banks, we're going to see 60, 70, maybe 80-degree temperatures in some locations over the next 4 to 5 days. And with that prevailing flow around the high coming in from the south and east, I think, and I could be wrong, these are gentle winds, but they're long and consistent. So what I think is going to happen is that we're going to get a decent base swell and nothing huge in the range of maybe 2 feet, 3 feet, but the swell is going to be, I think, better than expected for many of the wave monitors. Some of the wave monitors are coming up as, it might be not so great, but I honestly think that we're going to get some nice, glassy, clean waves out of this system, at least on Thursday, uh, possibly on Friday, and then again on Saturday and Sunday. So looking like good, small, better than expected rideable waves. Nothing crazy huge, but if you're looking to like learn how to surf or practice your surf, if you're an intermediary surfer, or if you're even if you're an advanced surfer and you want to hone your skills a little more on some easier waves that are nice and clean, I think the coming days in under the warm conditions are going to be pretty nice. Now, for the rest of the US and for the Southeast, with all that heat coming in, there's a potential for severe weather, and we're going to talk about that later. But it is worth noting also that California is still getting those storms coming in. I said the atmospheric river looks like it's kind of petered out. Doesn't mean that California is not still getting storms. The storms are still coming into California, and um, actually, let's go ahead and look at water vapor. I didn't I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to get too far into the weeds, so I but I mean just talking about it, I just changed my mind and I wanted to show you that the atmospheric river is not in play right now for California. But what is in play is storms sweeping out of the north and sweeping on down the US West Coast. So still getting that continued flux of storms. Looking like a bit of a respite, but nonetheless, storms that are continuing to move in, even if they are possibly generally less intense. The main feature for US weather is starting to shift here to the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley region, where we can expect some severe thunderstorms to form over the coming days. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Okay, so let's get down to our beautiful satellite shot of the lower 48. You can see the warm front starting to push north here in this band of clouds. We're getting it here in the Outer Banks, and it's shoving its way on to the north toward the Great Lakes region. And you can see that. You can see the storms continuing to roll in through the U.S. West. And then looking at the enhanced cloud tops, you can see that warm front stretching across the US Southeast with a cold impulse moving northward through Canada, and the remnant of that cyclonic low still kind of swirling around for California and parts of the mountain regions of the US West. Oop, yeah, that's from yesterday. We had a big wave surfer thing. All right, looking at the National Weather Service radar map and the alerts, we've got all sorts of advisories up on the U.S. West Coast. Looks like small craft advisories, some gale warnings, still flood watches up for parts of California, winter weather advisories for the mountain regions for the U.S. West. And then as we head into the central, whoa, got zoomed way in on Iowa for some reason there. Um, as we head on into the central and eastern US, you can see the effects of the warm front with the rains running across the US Southeast and parts of the central US near Illinois and Ohio. These rains will tend to move off to the north and east as that big push of warm air floods in. And we've got small craft advisories up for the Outer Banks. I don't know. It seems like the Outer Banks just continues to get small craft advisories. It's an Outer Banks thing, right? You're gonna have rough conditions out there in the surf. It's just, we're the graveyard of the Atlantic, and I don't know, the holy ground Highlander of East Coast surfing. All right, so let's get down to the local wave observations, wave reports. At Jeanette's Pier, waves are in the range of 2 to 3 feet. Went surfing down there earlier today. It was fun. Nobody else out there. If you want to practice your surf, I recommend it. The primary swell is coming in at 7 seconds at 2.5 feet out of the east-southeast. Got a nice shot on the camera for you of that east-southeast swell in the earlier portion of this report. And then Secondary swell coming in at 12 seconds, half foot coming in out of the east-northeast. Winds are gentle, 7 miles per hour south. Air temperatures getting close to the 60-degree mark. It's 59 degrees right now out there at Jeanette's, warming up all over the place here in the Outer Banks already. Ocean water temperature is still cold at 49, but didn't feel too bad with that warmer air. And once you get in the water, you move around. Pretty good. It's good for about an hour. Weather forecasts, spotty showers, scattered sun, high today of 61. Did I make a rhyme unintentionally? Maybe. Um, that high might be a little bit warmer than expected, and that's just going to be par for the course, I think, for the Outer Banks today. Warmer than expected. Moving on south to Rodanthe, we're going to also see some 2 to 3 foot waves here at Rodanthe. Primary swell coming in out of the east-southeast at 2.5 feet as well. That's a 7-second swell. Secondary swell also 12 seconds out of the east-northeast, half foot. Winds stronger at Rodanthe, 18 miles per hour of the southeast. That is a fresh onshore flow. Air temperatures 64 degrees, already feeling that warmth. And ocean water temperatures 51. Still pretty cold down there. I think the ocean waters are going to tend to warm up without southeast flow around the backside of that high. Weather forecast again, spotty showers, scattered sun, high expected to be 64, but we're already at 64. I think it's going to be warmer. I think it's going to be mid to upper 60s. That's an opinion. That's not official, but that's my opinion. Okay, and then I did want to provide you with a brief statement on S-turns here to the north, and the waves at S-turns just up here in the Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge, 2 to 3 feet as well. 2 to 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet at Avon, and then at Buxton, also 2 to 3 feet with a primary swell coming in at 6 seconds out of the east-southeast. That is a 3-foot primary swell. Secondary swell also 3 foot out of the south at 5 seconds. Air temperatures right now already 66 degrees down there at Buxton. Winds out of the west-southwest, 10 miles per hour. That is a gentle offshore flow. Ocean water temperatures 60 degrees Fahrenheit, warming up there a bit. Weather forecast for Buxton, same as everywhere else. Spotty showers, scattered sun, and the high today near 70 down at Buxton. So nice, nice, nice conditions. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee before we continue. Let's go out to the lobby. Okay, getting on down to the weather and climate analysis. We continue to see a large influx of above normal temperatures for the Arctic region. This influx is just a characteristic feature that we have seen over the last few days, with the influx coming in over Alaska and Western Canada bleeding into the Arctic. We do have some colder than normal conditions in a band near Iceland and ranging across parts of Siberia. And then for the temperate latitudes, we've got warmer than normal conditions over most of Europe, huge swaths of Russia, some colder than normal conditions in the far east in Russia, and then much warmer than normal conditions along the coast in China and then in Japan, and warmer than normal conditions over Africa. Kind of an unsettling pattern. Concerned about fire weather for both Europe and Asia as we get into summer with those warmer than normal conditions wanting to hold on. For the globe, air temperatures are in the range of 0.42 degrees Celsius above normal. This is already above the 1981 through 2010 average, which is warmer than normal. And then the big event here for the US is, or at least for us here in the Outer Banks, is these much warmer than normal conditions expected over the next 4 days. I'm going to go ahead and run the model so you guys can see this. You can see these warmer than normal conditions settling in today and then into tomorrow, building as we get into tomorrow, and then building some more as we get into Thursday, looking really warm for a huge swath running from Texas. You know what? Let's do a thing. I'm going to zoom in. Hee hee hee. Okay. Zoom in some more. I want to get close. Let's get close up here and take a look-see. Okay, so a huge swath of much warmer than normal temperatures here from, let's see, Texas all the way through Virginia and into the Carolinas. This as we get into the day. Let's see, this is Friday. Yep, 48 hours Friday. And then through the day on Friday and then early into Saturday, much warmer than normal conditions continuing. And then as we get into Sunday, look at that. Much warmer than normal conditions continuing for the U.S. East Coast into Sunday. Let's see how far it goes. Monday, looks like Tuesday, warmer than normal conditions. And then into next week, still hanging on. Um, Looks like you have to get really far out in the forecast before cold air starts to invade again. So it looks like we get at least a week of much warmer than normal conditions here for the southeastern U.S. Um, all right, so now let's talk about severe weather. I did talk about how the severe weather focus may shift from the U.S. West Coast out here into the Ohio River Valley. So parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, looks like Tennessee and Kentucky, North Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi under the gun for heavy rains and severe weather as that warm air from the Gulf clashes with the cold air from the north. And looking at the storm prediction center, we see that bearing out. So looking at today's convected outlook, we've got some marginal risk of enhanced thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms for parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and looks like Missouri here. And then as we get into the day on Thursday, uh, some slight enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms from Texas through Oklahoma with a big swath of marginal enhancement. It does likely mean that we're going to see thunderstorms. It just means that the risk of severe thunderstorms uh, looks like in the range of 15 to 30% chance of severe thunderstorms from locations in these zones. And then at the day 3 outlook, we get to enhanced risk. And I believe enhanced risk is getting up to nearly a 50% chance of severe thunderstorms in the zone. And the zone being, looks like Louisiana, Alabama, um, and getting into Arkansas here. And then a much larger zone of increased risk of severe thunderstorms. These thunderstorms are being fueled by that warmer than normal water pushing north against the colder air, which is bringing the instability down toward the south. And that clash is, I think, going to be something that we continue to see with that warm air invasion. Okay, so let's look at it with the weather models. And through today, the warm front moves north. We get rains in this big swath from Texas all the way up to the U.S. Northeast as we get into the day on Friday. And then severe weather looks like it starts to pop late in the day on Friday, um, coming in through, excuse me, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio in this model. And then a low pressure center develops and causes that severe weather to pop once again in a similar location that moves across those states and then it's east to the Appalachians as we get into the day on Saturday. And there's a bit of a severe winter storm type event for the U.S. Great Lakes. Saturday and Sunday looking rainy for the mountain regions of the East Coast. Shenandoah looking kind of rainy Saturday and Sunday. Shouldn't be too bad. Likely to be actually relatively warm. I don't really think that this front is going to bring in much in the way of cold air. Might still be beautiful up in the mountains for you guys who are heading that way. And then as the front slips off the US East Coast, you get the warm air building up from the south again. You can see the storms firing off as the warm air pushes over cold air trying to work on down into Tuesday. But once again, looks like the cold air stays to the north and yeah, mostly stays to the north, but by Mid to late next week, we might see a change as a powerful storm system looks like it may form for the U.S. East Coast and produce some really heavy snows for parts of the U.S. Northeast and possible strong front. These indicators on the low pressure center strength are very, oh, well, pretty strong in the 980 and 970, excuse me, millibar range. And so this might be the end of the warmth as we get a big cold front behind that powerful storm. Okay, so let's look at some waves. I did want to actually broaden out our wave forecast and talk about the waves of England and Ireland. Right now, there's a big storm system in the central North Atlantic, and there's some huge waves breaking in Ireland. So we've got significant wave heights in the range of 17 feet just off Ireland. Parts of the coast of France, 9-foot waves, and then Portugal, just offshore, 7-foot waves with that big storm system out there. Well, let's talk a little bit about California. California's gotten a series of storms, and we've also got some big waves for California. For the beaches in the south, significant wave heights in the range of 5 to 7 feet, and then just as we start to head into central California, significant wave heights in the range of 11 feet to 12 feet along most of the coastline. Now let's get down to the Outer Banks. The story of the day is better than expected. We've got relatively small waves coming in, small swell, but I think this swell is going to clean up as we get in through the day and be nice, very nice tomorrow, possibly nice on Friday, possibly pretty nice on Saturday and Sunday as well. Um, right now, the near shore swell in the range of 2 to 4 feet. Most of the swell indicators I've seen have been in the range of 2.5 to 3. And then for tomorrow, swells also in the range of 2 to 4 feet near the coastline. And then as we get into Friday, we get a southerly wind, and that will turn the swell around to the south. But I still think that there will be some beaches, particularly as you head further south where the waves are good, in the range of 3 to 6 feet. And then into the day on Saturday, continued south swell with the swell starting to angle in a little bit more to shore with near shore wave heights in the range of 4 to 6 feet. And then as we get into the day on Sunday, again, a southerly swell, but angling once more out of the southeast. So waves possibly looking even better on Sunday with a swell in the range of 3 to 4.5 feet. All right, so thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. We're going to do a little supplemental video. I'm going to talk about hand placement on surfboard and bodyboard, particularly for your new surfers out there. And as I always do, I just want to ask you guys to please do everything you can to help speed the transition to clean energy. This is not meant to shame or admonish anyone. Um, it's just meant to help, you know, maybe just help focus and just to ask, in the best way that I can, just to be nice, but just to do your best, um, and to help transition the world to clean energy and replace fossil fuels. Because we here on the coastline in particular, and everyone in the world, is under various threats from climate crisis, threats to the coastlines and to the beaches and to the surf are coming from rising sea levels. This driven by the fossil fuel burning that is heating the atmosphere and the ocean and melting the glaciers. More intense storms also coming from the burning of fossil fuels, which is heating the ocean and the land surface and creating more energy in the form of convection rising off the surface of the land and the water. And that's what fuels the most powerful storms, is that punch coming off the land and the ocean, that lift that helps to create those cyclones. And then last of all, the acidification of the ocean, driven primarily by fossil fuel burning. The carbon dioxide getting into Carbon dioxide getting into the water acidifies the ocean, and that destroys coral reefs, as does the excess heat in the ocean, which causes the coral bleaching events that we've been seeing. And that acidification and heat is a reef wrecker, and our reefs are very important to our surfers. Um, so please, do everything you can to help transition to clean energy. If you're looking for a reef expert, I highly recommend Terry Hughes. He's fantastic. If you're looking for a climate expert, I highly recommend Dr. Michael Mann. And if you're looking to get involved in climate action, I highly recommend the big leaders, Bill McKibben, Greta Thunberg, and so many others. But yeah, we can do this. Let's look toward a good future. Let's keep it in our hearts. Thank you all for joining me, and I will be back.